if we can't show transformation, then the good will come to the people.
And what are you saying?
Sorry, I'm talking to someone. Sorry.
Oh, okay, okay. Maybe we could do a quick round of introductions because you're only 7 and then we start. We could start with Doris. If you're able to say something, you don't have to show your face. You can just say where you are and what you do.
Hii kitu yote sasa tuna nini?
Okay. Tunaweza anza na wewe Sarah, because I can hear your voice. You can introduce yourself.
Okay. My name is Sarah Chieng. I'm from Captain Feeds and Farmers. I do fish feed production. I'm in Kisumu at a place known as Nyalenda.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. Agnes?
My name is Agnes. I'm based in Nairobi and I do clean cooking, specifically electricity. We sensitize people and try to migrate them from biomass cooking to clean cooking. And we do that through demonstrations, like in-person demonstrations or online, because I have also social media footprints and channels where we do the same. So yeah, across all social media platforms, I'm known as Jikoni Magic, and that's where you can find my work.
That's good. Thank you, Agnes. Caroline, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone.
Hi.
My name is Caroline Jerry. Sorry. Sales supervisor at Spiro.
Spiro, you're in immobility.
Yes, I'm in immobility.
Okay. Very nice to meet you. How? Who's next? Doris? Maybe she can speak. Anne?
Hello, everyone. My name is Anne Mwangi, and I am a member of WISE. I was also one of your mentors, and we met some of you in Nairobi and in Kakuma, and it was really a true honor to meet you all. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Okay, Diana? Okay, since Diana also can speak. So let me introduce our speaker for today. That's Sarah Mbwaya. She was here with us when we were doing the session on my entrepreneurship journey. And we got very good feedback from the women in Kisumu. So I invited her to speak to us about navigating business challenges. And then Anne will take us through grant writing and proposal writing. And then we can officially close the mentorship session. The mentorship session that we've had for the since September. It was meant to last for 6 months, so it's 6 months. This is an aftermath as we close. I hope the rest join as we go on. You can call your friends if you have their numbers so that they can also hear our discussion today. Na mtu ameingia na fujo, but welcome Anne. It's Anne, I think the other Anne from Kakuma. All right, karibu Sarah, you can take us through that topic. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you very much, Hilda. And good evening, ladies.
Good evening to you too.
It's always a joy to be able to have conversations with you, not because I'm an expert, but because it also helps me learn and review what it is that I've gone through, my journey. And I also learn from you, you know, through either the comments or the questions or your input. So I look forward to these particular conversations. And yes, we've had another one before, which was I also enjoyed. And so I'm happy to be here. My name is Sarah Mboya. Let me do a very quick intro and then delve into what it is that we need to do today. My name is Sarah Mboya, an energy expert and entrepreneur in the renewable energy sector. In terms of training, I'm an electrical engineer and a co-founder of and managing director of a company that provides solar power solutions. And then the name of the company is Aspectors. I will be probably mentioning here and there about the journey that we've come through in Aspectors, but we are 9 years old this year, even though we do have some 2 years when we were doing market study and trying to understand the market. So we've been around. And when you look at actually the solar sector, it's more or less 10, 15 years in Kenya. So it's not that old before it started picking up. So have been able to pick a few nuggets along the way. Some have worked, some have not worked, and I'm happy to be able to share that with you. Some of the solutions that we provide in Aspectors, on-grid and off-grid solar power solutions. We also do solar water heating solutions, solar water pumping. We also do solar outdoor lights and also developing some products for renewable energy. Renewable energy products for agriculture. That's in the pipeline, and hopefully we'll be able to get it out soon. Our clients in various sectors, we have hotels and cottages. We work very closely with developers. As they develop their projects, we come alongside them, and we are able to put whether it's solar water heaters or solar PV. We also work very closely with schools, institutions, factories and factories as well. Of course, farmers as well. I said we are developing something for farmers. I also sit on 2 boards, and I'm also the country chair for African Women in Energy and Power. I'm a mother, and I will come to why I'm sharing all this. I'm a mother of 3 young adults. I'm a homemaker, like many women. And I'm also, because I belong to a society, you will find that I will volunteer in different capacities, whether it's in my estate or in my church. And I share this because this is the context in which we are running the business. I'm sure each of you can sit back and say, I also have all this. Of course, I have siblings, I have relatives who look up to me for support, some of who look up to me for support, and I'm sure it's the same case. So this is sort of the environment, besides being in Kenya, that a woman like me and you, who is doing business in Kenya, is, you know, this is the sort of context that they have. So keep that at the back of your mind as we go through this, because some of this will, out of this, we'll be able to pick some of the challenges, and then we will probably try and think through how can we be able to deal with some of these challenges. I wasn't able to prepare a PowerPoint presentation. Please bear with me. But if you need, I can clean up my notes. That was due to time. But if you so want, I can clean up my notes and just share them as notes. So in case that is something that you would like, I have no problem being able to do that. So let's navigate into, let's get into navigating business challenges. And I think everybody here is in business of one kind or another. And I don't know, it would have been nice to know how many years, and you can put it in the chat. Each of you have run the various businesses or whatever it is in the positions that they are in. I'm sure there are certain challenges that you already have top of mind. Feel free to put them down, and then we will see, so that if I don't cover them in the list that I have, then we could have a conversation around them either now, or the team from WISE can be able to pick them up. So I'll start with the elephant in the room, which is usually financial. I think as we start, and when we start a business, we are starting the business for money, but many times, even though we have saved some money, it's never enough because of resources are never enough. And for this, I've divided it into 3 categories. You have your startup capital that you need to be able to raise so that you can open the doors of your organization. Then you have your working capital. You've opened your doors. You now have a service or a product that you're doing. So how do you keep running? And then the third one that I have put is there's the issue of project related or stock related capital. You have a project. You know you will make money, but at the moment when you've received this or you've closed this deal, you don't have the money. So what are some of the things that you can use to try and be able to bridge that particular gap? So working capital is just, sorry, I want to start with the startup capital because that's where we start. And I know a lot of us are already beyond that, but it's good to mention that this is always a challenge because, like I said, money is never enough. But where can you get a startup capital? You probably may have some of your savings. You may be able to go to your circle. You may be able to invite your friends. But as you do this, you need to be sure that the business you're setting up is sound, so that you know you'll be able to pay back, especially if you're going to talk to, say, a bank. And at this stage, and I know probably that's part of what it will be covered, the bank will not loan you the money because of the business, may only loan you for as your own personal, either a personal guarantee, a personal loan from your own personal account, because by the time you're starting your business, you don't have any, what's the word? You do not have any numbers to show, unless it's grants. And nowadays you will find grants. I see many women, youth. So if you're able to access those will be able to help you, and you have a good idea, you have a good business plan, it is possible. But you may, there'll always be competition. So it's good to think about otherwise. The next, for working capital, you're doing business and you're raising the money that you need to plow back into your business. And of course, as if depending on whether you have people or somebody that you're subcontracting, or whether you started with an employee, then you need to be figuring out at the end of every month how you're going to pay them. And sometimes when you start, and if I remember when I started, you'll find that you'll do one deal in a month, and then there may not be very much coming until a couple of weeks later. And even what you get may not be able to meet your running costs. So what would you do? In my case, what I did when I opened my doors, and I'll use some of my examples, is that I started with outdoor lights. This is what I chose to do. You don't have to do this, but this is what I chose to do, just as an example. And at that time, because I knew I couldn't go to, I wasn't able on my own to install the lights. I had a Form 4 leaver who was a gardener at my place. And I walked him through, and we would go together. And under my instructions, he will be able to climb if he needs to climb to help or assist whatever it is that I needed to do. And with time, and because I noticed that his attitude was right, with time, I even took him to school. And he's still with me now, but he's ended up being an asset. So it's up to you to figure out what is it that you have that can help you manage as you start. Is it working from home? Or do you need that flashy office and you have to keep paying rent every month? Are you going to scale down? If you already have an office, do you need as big as it is? So you need to look at your costs In terms of both working capital and for projects, can you partner with suppliers so that they're able to give you some credit, even if it's just for a week or 2 weeks, because it means that by that time you will already have done the project or whatever it is you needed to deliver, whatever product you needed to buy and deliver, that is if you're not stocking. And then once you're paid, you're able to pay. You can also ask in advance for a deposit, and it's something that we have utilized quite a bit, as much as you can get away with. There are clients who will not give us any deposit, and maybe I'll come back to that. And so we will have to look for the money somewhere else. So it's because you're not going to let the business go. So if then the client is not giving you deposit, and maybe some of the products or maybe the people you needed to hire who needed to go to site, of course, for people you can negotiate. For people you can negotiate to pay them after the project. So you need to really look at your processes and see what is it that must be done so that the limited finances that you have can be able to address or deliver more, and then you pay them after. And this doesn't change, by the way. As years go by, say when you started, you probably had a project of $1 million. You will find as you go along, it becomes 5 million, it becomes 10 million. So this is going to be a constant cash flow management and deciding what is a priority, what needs to be done first, at what point is this money coming in. And so you both need some good time doing that or get a resource that can help you look at that. On the part of projects, and I think I have alluded to that, I have mentioned that you can negotiate with your clients for them to give you some deposit. That will help you manage your finances, your circles. There are some organizations, even banks, that will be able to give you, depending now on and at what stage your business is in, how many years, what you're bringing in, you should be able to at least get some financing. Over the years, we've been able to at least get some from some of the banks. It's not all. And some you'll analyze the bank that you're banking with. Some banks are more friendly to entrepreneurs than others. Others are a lot more corporate. So I would say, look at the banks that you're banking with and see if they understand you as an entrepreneur. And if you went and start with the bank manager or with your the person who manages your account, if they can be able to understand where you are at, and so that then you are able to get some cash to be able to bridge. So it's important which banks that you join. There are also organizations, grassroots organizations that will give you, and you can get to know about them, that will give you loans at very small, what do you call it, interest. In 2023, I did a women's finance readiness course at Strathmore, and it was very interesting because that's where I began to think how to scale up my business, because I always needed money, but I didn't know what to do. And so in that, they help you, and I know that's part of what you're going to do hereafter. They help you come up with a proper pitch, and they help you be able to prepare your business so that when you sit with somebody, then they are able to see why you need the money. One of the banks that came and presented during that particular workshop, it was, I think, a 12 weeks workshop. I did follow up with them, and after banking with them for 6 months, we were able to get an unsecured loan, and we really needed that. Later, we met another global fund, grassroots fund, and again, remember we had done some pitching and business planning, and once we were able to present to them, they were able to. But this particular funds from this particular organization, we use it purely for projects, so that when I get a project, because like I said, not everyone is able to give you a deposit, and it's not all the time. So you'll find that we have a number of months that they give us the money and then we pay back. And that has really helped us be able to do a lot more projects and be competitive. So you could explore those opportunities because they are there. Grants, of course. I haven't managed myself to get any grant, but I know they're there and there are people who have gotten. So you could actually begin to prepare your business and also see where you could be able to look for that. The second category of businesses of challenges is that I want to look at is business and professional challenges. And in this, I want to start with the balancing work, family, and all your other personal commitments. And that's why I introduced myself the way I did. Because as women, we have a lot of stuff that we do. And sometimes, we have all these challenges of being able to balance, and remember, your business needs to still thrive, just like for the gentleman next door who is doing a similar business and may not be juggling with a young child or may not be doing some of the things that we do. And so in this, what I say is that you need to be aware of the things and prioritize the things that you need to do and the season that you are in. My introduction, the one I did, is that my children are young adults now. So they're not babies that I need to hang around with. And so with that, I have extra time that I'm able to put in or do something else. So you need to be able to understand the season you're in at home and also the season that your business is in. And if you have other things that you're doing, then you need to be able to prioritize and say, 1, 2, 3, for my family is a must. And for my business, again, is a must. I think for now, in this season, I will put off this and then I'll come back to it later. Because life is about seasons and there are things that you may not be able to do all at the same time. You can also be able to get professional, some kind of help, whether it's a home manager who then they have terms and that there are certain things that it doesn't need to be you doing them, but somebody else will do them and do them well. Get support from your family members, your spouse, and see how they can be of support. So it needs to be some sort of a conversation. I know it's not always the same for all, but you need to understand your situation and see how can you be able to navigate that after you have prioritized and said, my business, I need so many hours. Sometimes it's not even hours, it may be, throughout 24 hours, because sometimes you will do something during the day and you can't quite, shut your head off. It's still working at night. It's thinking, how do I sort this out tomorrow? So it may look like it was 8 hours, but you may not have slept well. So again, those are some of the things that you may need to manage so that then you're able to balance your business and your family and your other either it's volunteers or personal commitments. The next one that I'll talk about is limited business support services. When you start, you probably start yourself and your partner. If you have a partner, you may have one or one other person, but you will find there are resources that are lacking. You probably are still the one cleaning, the office needs to be cleaned, somebody needs to deliver, somebody needs to make calls or receive calls. So all that is yours. So how do you then manage this? Again, some of the ways that I have done myself is when it comes to things like services that I can outsource, like finance, I outsourced for a long time before I had my own in-house. And so you find the finance person came in once a week and helped us with that. That is if that's what is needed. So you need to understand your business. What other services can you outsource? I have, there are also people in your circles who may be able to lend you capacity at certain levels. When I have had to interview people, because I belong to a network of entrepreneurs, I'm able to pull in 1 or 2 other entrepreneurs and say, come and sit with me in this interview so that you can help me be able to interview and identify the correct skill. Because remember, you're still the same person. So look around and see who are the people who can lend you, even if it's just for an hour. If you're having challenges about maybe hiring, sit with the same team. So surround yourself with a team of people within your, who are entrepreneurs as well, so that you can be able to talk about some of the challenges and you can be able to learn from them as well. This has greatly helped me. One of the forums that I joined, and this did work for both looking for business and also lending me capacity, was a BNI. I'm sure a lot of you have heard of BNI. And my biggest client today came from BNI, who I have continuously been able to to supply and to work with. So identify the forums that you think WISE is a good one. There are a number of people there with the skills that are needed. Also identify what is it that you're lacking. So if you're technical, in my case, I have a technical background, but I had done finance for managers some time back. So in terms of finances, at least I would understand that. So some of the skills you may have to sort of try and see if you can get them. Sales and marketing, I wouldn't say that I'm an expert, and I've been learning to try and move into that. So be aware of yourself. What can you do, and what is it that you need? Either somebody to mentor you in as you begin to take steps, and as you make money, then you know this will be the first skill that I will hire for. Again, even when you're hiring, if you, again, depending on how much money you're making, you may not get the level that you need. So sometimes that's why I'm saying getting somebody part-time who'll be able to lend you the kind of capacity you might need at the level you might need is an option. But sometimes what I've found as a challenge with that is that they have their other stuff they are doing. They may not be there when you need them. And so you're still on your own sometimes, and that brings frustrations, and it may also cause the client to be very dissatisfied depending on what it is that you are doing. Many times lack of information, limited access to whether it's opportunities, marketing opportunities, and other relevant resources, and that becomes a disadvantage. So where will you find your customers? And in this case, I would say joining industry relevant bodies, joining forums where you think your clients would be, so that you're able to network with them and to learn about your products and your services. That will greatly give you value. And so you need to, once you've understood what it is that you do, so where are your customers? So what kind of bodies do you need to? And then you understand either it's industry or market data and the trends and what's going on. And then you use that to be able to feed it back to your strategy. I think I've already mentioned skill gaps, that you're not able to get all the people that you need. And you'll find that especially at the beginning, it's either you and maybe your partner, or just you, because maybe your partner is working somewhere else, and so you're the one running the show, and you need to be able to do everything. So you need to figure what is it that you must do, and what is it that you will have somebody else support you in. And you can go by the 80-20 rule, so that you know this particular one. When you start, you really want to bring in the money. And especially because if your background is not sales and marketing, and maybe your partner is not sales and marketing, then you need to be figuring out, so where is the money that will keep us going as a business? For me, that has always been a priority, that if we can make the money and close deals, then we'll be able to do everything else that we need to do. And so we have had a targeted campaign towards being able to sell more, and being able to reach our clients, and being able to give services that are quality, so that our clients can be able to give us repeat business. Another category I want to touch on is social and cultural barriers. Let's face it, even as women, and especially for those who may be in fields that are very male dominated, there's still a level of discrimination. There are times, in fact, not too long ago, I was speaking with a friend of mine, I'll say, sometimes I just feel like some of the places where I go, my customers are thinking, will she be able to do it? And that doesn't make me very happy. And I'm left to almost be able to prove myself. I have another client who keeps asking the person who introduced me, if we give them this, of course the deals have grown bigger and bigger. So if we give, do you think she's going to be able to deliver? And I know if it was a man, I don't think they would be thinking that way. And so whether we like it or not, that is still there. What can you do about it? Make yourself, first of all, be aware that that is there, and then do whatever it takes. Get your referrals, so that when there's that discrimination, you have something a testimonial to put at the table and say, I have done this, because usually it is delivery based. So if you already have something you have done, you have testimonials, be able to put them down. If you have people who had introduced you to the account that they keep checking, you need to keep updating them. If it was a referral, that person who introduced you to the account, and it can take any form. So think about this, network a lot more with the people, find out why are they thinking that, hey, are they really going to deliver this? And then see how that progresses. That's going to be on a path, it will depend on the client and how it comes across to you. But be aware that from where I sit, I still have experienced that. It's not much, but it's still there. So, and it depends. Then there is, sometimes you get limited family support. So like I said, you have all these things all these hats that you're wearing, and you are hoping that maybe the day you have a meeting on Saturday, your maybe significant other or somebody else will be able to support you, but they're not there. So what do you do? This is where I would suggest that you need to increase your circles. I'm sure you have friends. Also, some of these things, if it's a Saturday, I am also usually very particular, unless if it's an emergency. I ask my clients if we could do it on Monday. And I say, I like to be able to give my employees time off so that they are much better on Monday. So if it's not an emergency, again, it's a Saturday, it's in the evening, and explain to them, I'm sure they would understand. I would like to give my employees a break for the weekend so that they are much better on Monday, or in the evening, I would rather, can we address it tomorrow? If then it's in an emergency, then anybody will understand. So understand the situation. See if there are other people, if you're not getting any family support. I think I mentioned earlier, get a house manager, a good house manager who understands the bits they need to do and your bit. Do not give them everything. Know that these three things must be me who is doing them, and then see how that works out. Remember, and up till now, I can't say that I have a foolproof way of navigating these things. There are days that they change, and I have to feed in the information I have and the situation as is. So you need to be very much alert and aware. So then you know how you're going to deal with this particular issue. I guess the other one is you'll find that government and big institutions always have very big contracts. But again, because of competition, corruption, or whatever it is, you will find that, especially depending on your level and the size of company, how much experience you have, as much as we desire to be able to get this, so there are times that it is out of reach. And for me, I had to come to terms with some of them and say, I'm not going to waste my time, because first of all, they need this kind of license. I don't have, because my license is at this level. They then need me to do 1, 2, 3. So you will need to be honest with yourself and say, what is it that you can do? And what's the best use of your time? Is it chasing this that may end up not coming to you, and you may end up spending a lot of money? Or is it going for something different that you're assured, and play at your level and then keep growing? So this is the decision I've had to make. And what has happened is that with the years, I have also learned to be able to do, these bigger ones for institutions. Sometimes for government, because of depending on, I look at clients' payment cycles as well. Because remember, I don't have a big pool of money. It is what I'm making that comes back. So again, that's a decision you have to make. So how do you want the people to pay you? Do you want to do a job and they take a whole year to pay you, and you already put in your money, or do you want to? So that's again another decision you need to make. On the part of stiff competition, and I'm sure a lot of you is a reality. We have there are other people who are playing and selling products and services within the same sector or within the same sphere. And so part of the problems that you find, even in not being able to compete, because you may not have economics of scale. So that maybe in a month, I am selling 10 systems. I'm using that as an example. And so when I do the cost for those systems, how much I'm inputting, I need to mark them up a lot more, or I need to charge a little more so that I can be able to cover my costs. Whereas somebody else is probably doing much bigger, maybe 100. And with that, you know, they are able to do very small margins. So I think for me, what I've done is to try and come up with a plan on how to scale up, even as I deal with this economics of scale issue. I have also, and I mentioned this earlier, talked to my suppliers, and they've been able to give me, you know, credit. That means I'm using their money, and that means then I may be able to lower my whatever it is that I'm making. But I don't play very much price, because then everybody will keep pushing me down. I look at segmentation, differentiation. What is it I'm offering? Am I giving, you know, my clients service that they feel it's personalized compared to the bigger organizations where they'll probably just send somebody, what's my quality like? And then if you have testimonials, use those so that they can be able to learn from the clients you've already served, that your service is very good, your after service is very good, they can reach you. So then the issue of price ceases to be a big thing. It will still be an issue, but it ceases to be the determining factor. So look at what else you're offering. You know, are you positioning yourself just as a trader, or are you a solution provider? Are you helping them be able to come up with a solution of a problem that they are encountering, and you're willing to go with them to the end? Another challenge, and I've alluded to it, is lack of marketing know-how. With a technical background, you will find that I never, other than when I did my master's in strategic management, I had not come across marketing, sales and marketing, and I didn't know how central to my business it is as an owner. And so once I got in here and I realized, actually, I need to be the #1 salesperson. You bring people, but I don't think they can carry your company the way you can carry it. And so what I have had to do is to look for short courses, look for videos. There's a lot on YouTube, HubSpot, where you can learn about sales and marketing. Remember, if you're not selling any products, if no money is coming in, then you're not in business. So this needs to become the priority. And so you need to enhance your sales and marketing skills. Then you need to know, where are these people? Where do you find them? Remember when I introduced myself, I said I also volunteer in other places. Within respectful distance, you will find that I have networked with people in those places, and they have ended up being my customers. You were in for a different forum, we introduced one another, or they said, oh, what do you do? And I told them, and later they call me. So it becomes, again, even in those forums where you go, you're volunteering, sometimes even family gatherings, you'll be surprised. I know some of you have introduced themselves very well, saying what they do, how they do it. I think that was Sarah Achieng. You know, being able to do that kind of introduction, even in a place where you don't know, because you don't know who you're speaking to. You don't know what they'll be looking for. You don't know who will hit it, you know? So being able to introduce yourself with what you do as well, and give them some meat that they can jump onto and be able to say, tell me more. You never know, that could end up being your best client. And by the way, your client can come from anywhere. I'll give you an example. Many years ago, we used to keep, you know, the way you have dogs and you're breeding and you're selling and people are coming. And so the people, one time, the person who came and we had a conversation was actually coming to buy a puppy for the son. And they, of course, when they come, they are in a non-threatening environment. So you're able to talk about anything. First of all, they found a car that had a problem. And they were able to say, oh, this car, you can get parts from Dubai, here, they exchanged contacts. And then in terms of introducing ourselves, then my late hubby used to do meat. And when he introduced himself, it turned out that this gentleman had a restaurant and was looking for somebody to supply meat. So even though these people came to buy a puppy, they ended up being his biggest clients. Why am I sharing this story? You don't know who will buy from you or who will do the breakthrough. So have your elevator pitch with you all the time, so that, you know, because you'll find the person who will pick it probably will be the person who will make a difference for you as far as sales and marketing. So I tell people, when I show up, Aspectus shows up, because I'll introduce myself and I'll say what I do, who I am and what I do. And a few people will catch on it and will follow up with me later. So it's a strategy that I have seen works. But it doesn't work always. Don't get me wrong. And when it doesn't, it's okay, because I wasn't coming to steal the show. I'm just saying whoever might be in this particular place and is interested, it could be a one-to-one, or it could be a forum where I'm introducing myself. Inadequate education, I think I've talked about that, where I talked about, can we up our skills, be aware of ourselves, what are the gaps? And it just doesn't have to be us. Maybe you have one or two other people in your organization and they have some gaps. So how can you upskill them? Will you call in? And there are a lot of people who are willing to speak. I normally call in people who either I know are good in marketing, HR, and they'll come and speak to us as an organization. And because these are people that I know, probably, you know, I'll do a token. I may not need to pay them. So again, you're still managing your money. So you need to figure out who are the people you know, who are the people who can step in for you. In the last couple of years, we've set up what is called an advisory board. Now, this particular advisory board, the way we've set it up is that we've looked at our gaps. Like I said, my background is technical. So we've gone ahead and we have brought in a sales and marketing person. And because we need them to guide, so we know the weak areas. And so this person also, this small team up there also becomes my ambassadors. And a number of them have actually been able to say, so-and-so is going to call you. They have a deal for you. I have put in a word for you. Because at the place where they are, they don't work with me day to day, but they are in different places. So that's something that you can, and usually it's a token. A lot of people are willing to support young organizations. And so that's a strategy that you could, when you're looking for that high level. Sometimes when I'm going for very high level meeting and I need to be beefed up, I'll call one of them and I'll say, so-and-so, I'm going to see the MD of this organization. Could you beef me up? And because they understand my business, then I go as a force. I don't just go only me and my technical person. I go as a force. So because time is moving very fast, let me just say, conclude and just say a few things. In addition to what it is that I have talked about. I've learned that positive attitude is very, very critical, because there are days you will need to pick yourself up. There are days you will ask yourself, why are you doing what you're doing? And like I said, there are days you probably won't sleep. So you still need a thick skin. And you need to be able to tell yourself in advance, no matter what comes your way, you are up to the task. So it doesn't matter. And so business is not for the faint-hearted. So go sit back and think, because there are some very difficult situations that happen. One of the other things that I didn't talk about, and that is something I was dealing with last week, is unclear business policies, government policies. You do something, like in our case, we had imported some containers, and so once they landed, they had an alert. And they said they had found a scan alert, and they had also a problem with the code that we had used. And the person who did that said, please review and collect the penalties. You can imagine we had already costed these products. Now they are talking about, you know, penalties, collecting more duty and penalties. You know what that does for my business. And to cut the long story short, eventually they had to do a full evaluation, and they did. They found there was the scan alert showed that we had extra things that we had not declared, which was not true. So at least that was, they confirmed that. And then the HS code we had used, which they had a problem with, we just had to prove to them. We opened for them the systems and showed them exactly what they do. Of course, it ate into 1.5 weeks, because at the time they are doing that, I need to pay storage, and it has taken me longer to send my containers back. So again, these are some of the government policies. I mean, you know about the taxes that we have to pay, housing levy. And some of these, that's why I'm saying you need to have a thick skin. Some of those, you just have to go through them and come up with a strategy. How are you going to do this? The second thing I want to talk about, positive attitude is a big one. Develop a thick skin and promise yourself, no matter what happens, you're going to get through what you need to do. Focus on winning at all costs. And then you need to remember why you started the business and where you want to go. Then that will keep you going. Then you ensure you have a clear company strategy. For many years, we did the strategy ourselves. My other partner has some training in strategy, so we did it in-house. But there was a game changer last year when we brought on a consultant that we had an agreement with, and we were able to redevelop our strategy. And with that, she came up with a dashboard that we review on a monthly basis. And that has actually seen us, it show us, I mean, we were able to grow last year immensely because if it's numbers, we were reviewing them on a monthly basis. And then she'll come on a quarterly basis to see exactly what you've done. What that helps you is that you prioritize the important things you need to do to achieve your goals. So I would recommend, if you're able to, even if you're going to do it on your alone, it still works because then you know the things you need to be focusing on. So work on your daily actions, monthly actions, yearly, make sure that those actions are being done. And with this, it will keep you focused and you keep moving. The other one the third thing I want to mention, and this is in conclusion, is that you will need to think about yourself as a human being. You need to rest. And I know we talked about this quite a lot the other time. You need to rest. You need to refuel. How do you do that? Because there's a danger of burning, being burnt out. You're doing a lot everywhere. So be aware of how well you do with stress and be aware when you're going down, and so that then you know what it is that you need to do. So your health, make sure your health is good, eat healthy. For some people, they say working out, walking, stressing, whatever it is, deals with stress and allows you to have the high energies that you need to be able to go on. Again, that's something to think about. Equip yourself. That one, I've talked about it and I can't emphasize it more. I have talked about getting your support from other entrepreneurs, family members when possible, friends, and then network. Find out where people are. And every time you wear that hat, remember, if when you show up, your company also shows up. Munaenda pamoja. And then finally, trust God to walk with you and see you through, show you the steps you need to take. Allow him to lead you and to guide you, and go to him when things don't look the way you would have wanted. He's always there and he will help you. And with that, allow me, Hilda, to stop there. And I don't know whether there are any questions. I may have taken quite a bit of time. I don't know whether we have a few minutes for questions, but allow me to stop there. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sarah. That was, hey, it was power packed. Let me have some questions first. From anyone. We don't have questions, Karen, Josephine, Jackie, Sarah.
Or even a
Okay.
comment.
Yeah, you can even give a comment like, thank you, this is my takeaway for today, something like that, if you don't want to ask a question.
Thank you so much, Sarah, for that. We truly appreciate it. I think my main takeaway is the one about networking. It has proven to be very useful to me. And also the idea of when you're introducing yourself, the same way Sarah Ching did it, you kind of, mention a little bit about what you do. You have your, in quotes, pitch deck presentation. For me, I actually came across, I was in a training, and in that training, I came across like one of the, I think someone really very high up in the energy sector, And I was very, very surprised at how humble he was. And he has actually, I was just talking about my passion. I was just talking about how it was, I loved it. I was talking about how much I want to change, and how much I feel driven to create a transformation. And before I knew it, I'm sitting with venture capitalists. I'm sitting in board meetings because I think he just saw how passionate that was. So that is very true for me. Just introducing yourself in a way that you're passionate about what you do. So those are my comments, and I really want to thank you for the presentation. It was very great and useful for me personally.
Thank you, Anne. Anyone else? It's okay, I can close it at this point then. Thank you so much, Sarah, for joining us, for speaking so many things. I also like the kuenda pamoja na biashara yako. Like, I'm Hilda, I'm chairperson at WISE. This is what we do every chance you get. And I think it really helps with marketing. And thank you for listing the different challenges, and talking through them and sharing your experiences. I think we have taken away a lot of things that we can apply in our businesses. Yeah.
Thank you very
Does
much,
anyone
Hilda.
want to say something?
Oh,
Okay.
sorry.
I thought I had someone speaking. Thank you very much. You could stay for grant writing, or you could go depending on your schedule and activities. But thank you so much for joining us for that 1 hour.
Thank you, Hilda, for the invite. Yes, allow me to drop off so that I can address one or two other things.
Thank you so much.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
have a good
Have a
evening.
good evening.
Okay, bye.
Bye. Moving on. The last time I was with you ladies, you said you'd be very vocal in the virtual sessions, and I think you are lying, but it's okay. I hope you have taken something for your business. I will just emphasize on daily actions, monthly actions, and annual actions. It's important to just have a good list and keep working on it or at it. Let me invite Anne to take us through grant writing, how to respond to proposals, how to approach or prepare what you're preparing for people who are looking to fund our businesses, for about 40 minutes, and then we can close.
Okay, thank you so much, Hilda, for this opportunity. And also thank you so much for all you guys who are coming here and participating. Yeah, when we met you personally, you said you'll talk more, but you aren't talking. So I don't know what happened, but I want to take us through proposal writing. I want to take us through how to craft a proposal. I've met some of you in the in the trainings, and I can see there are people who came up with really, really good ideas for potential projects, and we're going to go through step by step through how we could potentially make them viable and to actually get the necessary funding in order to be able to do this. So like I said, here we're going to go through step by step. We're going to look at organization readiness. Is your organization ready for applying for a grant? Because different organizations have different requirements, and we're going to look at some of them. So budgeting. I cannot emphasize this enough. Budgeting is actually to the point where there are some organizations that will require that you get that particular project that you applied for to be audited at the end of the proposal. And of course, after every project, you have to do you have to write what do you call? What is that word escaping me? You have to write the how the entire project went, and they will require you to have like a step-by-step explanation of everything that happened. So if anything happened that didn't go according to how you planned, you really need to be able to extensively explain it, giving very reasonable reasons as to why. You have to realize grants are basically free money, and they're not given to just anyone. You have to be able to prove yourself. And their organization, they will require you that you give a line by line by line by line explanation of everything that you do in your budget. So if you say budget is 50,000 Kenya shillings per day, you end up spending 70,000 per day, there needs to be an explanation as to why that happened, because sometimes it happens, but there also needs to be an explanation. So we'll go a little bit deeper into budgeting than all of them. Another thing, you need to ensure sustainability. The project that you're bringing about, it needs to go beyond the end of the project. And it either needs to go beyond the end of the project, or it needs to be something that you can replicate in other areas. A good example is when we were in Kisumu, we did have this discussion about a potential capacity building exercise where the major problem some of you are experiencing is that many of the men who are solar installers or solar technicians, they don't stay. They pack up and leave. So you came to the conclusion that it's probably better to train women. So now that is actually a project that has sustainability. And so in regards to sustainability, that is actually what is meant. Is there going to be benefit beyond the completion of this project? What are the benefits beyond the completion of this project? Those are all important factors, and we will go through them one by one. So anyway, every single grant organization has their own guidelines. We can take a look at some of them. Okay, so this is the can you see my screen? Someone please confirm, because I'm not sure if you can see the page I'm showing. Did you all? Hello?
Yes, we can see it.
See.
Oh, okay, good. So this is now the African Women Development Fund. And so every single one of these, there are guidelines. So you see there are INUA grants, there are CESA grants, there is economic justice grants, and there's Malta grants. And each and every one, it has guidelines. So you cannot apply for all of them depending on the projects that you have, and also depending on your company and where your company is. And there's so many reasons why you do need to read the guidelines before applying. You can apply, but you're just going to get rejection after rejection after rejection after rejection because you did not read what is required of you. And another good example of grant is here we have a D-prize grant. It goes up to 20,000 US dollars, and you can see how it works. So they're basically telling you what are the areas that they're looking for in health, water, agriculture, livelihoods, energy. We have another example. These are just examples, and I know what some of you are thinking. You're probably thinking, let's apply for this grant. And my response to that is, it's going to be tricky because, like I said, budget, 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 budget. Unless you already have a project in mind that is fully budgeted to the point where if you get the money, you can actually carry out this project and it will fit into the budget. Because if you over budget your project and you end up not finishing it, that will be a very negative mark on your company and also on you personally. And not just on you and your company. It's because typically what these grants do is that they look at where the money has gone and how successful the money has, what success the money has led to. A good example is with this particular project, this Transforming Women in Renewable Energy. We keep asking you for feedback. We're asking you to come. We're asking you to talk. We want to see, has our work been successful? Because if our work is not successful, then the organization will come to the conclusion that this is just not a need that Kenya has. And so they're going to reduce the amount of money that's typically sent to Kenya because there's no need for it. Or either there's no need for it or the trainers were not good enough. So we do need your feedback to get better. And we also do need your feedback so that we can show the organizations there is need for this, something like this to be financed. Another example of a grant is this one. As you can see here in this particular organization, they're giving you step by step how you're going to do it. So we're going to go through some of these guidelines if I really hope time allows us to. So that you can kind of fully understand and get fully prepared on what to do. Okay, so the next thing is you all have companies or you all have organizations. So you need to know, is your company ready to be able to apply for a grant? So what do you have, a nonprofit? Do you have an NGO? Do you have a community-based organization? Another thing is, are you legally registered? This is a huge thing. And I remember in the mentorships, I did advise some of you, if you haven't registered your companies, that does put you in a disadvantaged position when it comes to applying for grants, because they typically look at organizations that are legally registered and they are also paying their taxes. They're also looking for, another thing is employee diversity. Do you have women in your organization? So you're all women. So that takes care of that. They also look at technical expertise. So if you have a project, within that project, you do need to have technical expertise. I want to maybe giving out some examples. I was thinking for example, we did speak with Karen. She has this, the clean cooking business. An example of regarding technical expertise, maybe you want to apply for a grant so that you can be able to cook with solar systems, for example. You do need to have a solar technician as an expert, but you yourself, you don't have to be an expert. But your company doesn't already to have an expert within before applying for a grant. You can say, I'm going to put solar technician expert within the budget process so that I can pay them with the money from the grant. But an expert simply has to be within your within the project. Without an expert in the project, that puts you at a huge disadvantage, not only because you're probably not going to get the grant, but even if you do get the grant, how are you going to execute the grant without the technical expertise? The other thing is previous work and impact. You all have previous work and you all have impact, but the one thing you don't really seem to be very doing a lot is now the documenting, because the organizations need to see, if they give you the money, can you do the job? No one's going to give you money if you haven't proven that you can do it, that you have what it takes. So one of the things that we were encouraging you very strongly to do within the realm of the mentorship is, please, you do need to have a social media presence. You do need to update the social media presence. You do need to demonstrate through your social media presence, your previous work. Some of you were not very happy about going to social media. And if that's the case, then you do need to have documentation of what you have done in the past. Another thing that will make you ready for grant application is partnerships with other organizations. Saramboya already talked about this, networking, finding people who have the capacity and also who have a reputation. If, for example, you apply for a grant in conjunction with, I'm just throwing it out there, GIZ. GIZ has a very good reputation. So that automatically puts you at a huge advantage towards getting the grants. Another example is I want to state that if you, for example, won something like the Queen of Energy Awards, you're not going to get any money. They don't give money for that. Some of you are probably thinking, why should I apply if I'm not going to get money? The reason why you should probably apply to win for it is because it gives you legitimacy. The African Queen of Energy Awards is something that signals to a grant-giving organization that this is someone who has worked very hard to uplift the community. So, and I'm still trying to get Ngomeli back, and I'm doing everything I can. I really am. We were supposed to have a meeting on 1st May, which was a holiday, and he ended up being called to work. So I'm still trying to work out how we can come here and organize. So even though this mentorship is coming to an end, it is officially coming to an end, but we can still meet unofficially online. I will still work to get him to come here so that, because you guys do a lot of amazing work, and maybe I should divert a little bit, because when I was there and he was explaining to me how he came up with to giving the awards for the Queen of Energy. I think they were working out of some huge awards for very big companies and very big people. And someone saw someone who was, mopping the floor, and they asked themselves, these women who work in the background, these women who are out there empowering other women, hands-on empowering other women, who is recognizing them? So this award was specifically created for women like you. And if you go to the website, you might even see, and you might even tell yourself, well, most of the people who are winners are professionals, people who have large degrees and things like that. And I did ask him about this, and he said, we can only award awards to people who apply. So if you don't apply, they can't know about you. And so I really want to encourage you guys to just keep up with your social media and also apply for the awards. You can see there are very many benefits to winning these awards, and it does put you in a very advantageous position regarding working with other grants organizations. And also the award was created specifically for you. There's something Nelly said that really broke my heart, because she said, as women, you just sit down and do nothing. Then one day you think to yourself, let me do something and uplift other women for me, around me. And then you go to you start uplifting people, then you go to the office, you realize, oh, you don't have this license. You don't have this permit. You don't have this. And at some point, it reaches a point where you feel like you're giving up. And that is why I am working very, very hard to get him in front of you guys again, because this award was specifically created for people like you, people who are working in the background, who are uplifting other women in the background. And because this mentorship is coming to an end, I have to say that when we have that meeting, it will not be supported by GIZ. It will be a very unofficial meeting. And so personally, I'm still working on it because of, what Nelly said. It really just moved me, and I really, really want you guys to know that there are people out there who are thinking about you and who want to give you the necessary support that you need in order to go on encouraging and uplifting other women. So I think I have detracted enough. I don't want to spend too much time. I want us to have also enough time to be able to take in questions. So, okay, we want to talk about project readiness. I've touched on a little bit on this. So in terms of project readiness, you need to look at who are the stakeholders. Typically, for example, if your project is to empower women, and then you come here and you read something like, this project is not for women, then you are not going to get this grant because this grant is specifically for something else. It's not project ready for this particular grant. Another thing that is usually looked at is sustainability. Can your project go beyond the grant timeline, or is the minute the grant ends, then the project falls down? So this is something that, again, you really do need to look at, and most of you actually do have sustainable, you're in fields that are sustainable, where if you were to get the grant and if you were to do what was necessary to work on the grant, it will go beyond that. For example, if you are in clean cooking and a lot of your work includes training women, so if you want, you see a need and you decide you want to train 20 women, you sit down, you think about all the things that are needed, you create a budget. Training women is something that is sustainable because they can take that skill and use it to advance themselves. So that is what you should think about sustainability. Scalability is, can I take this project and replicate it? Or is it completely irreplicable? Can I, if I've trained within this project, I've applied for a grant, I've gotten the money, I've trained 20 women, can I train 20 more women? Or is this project unique to this particular situation? That's what you need to understand under sustainability and scalability. You do need to think about the risks of your grant. Every single situation, it comes with risks. And what are your mitigation strategies? Typically, grant giving organization, they want to know that you have really, really thought out your project. Like you didn't just wake up one day and you decided, okay, I'm going to create. No, you've actually gone through a lot to think about this project. So you've thought about the risks, you know that things can go wrong, and you've also come up with mitigation strategies. For example, a risk is, do you have the technical capacity? No, the mitigation is you hire someone to apply for the grant. Other risks is things like weather patterns. They can delay your project. What are your mitigation strategies? A mitigation strategy will be to have the grant, the timeline for the grant to take place in the dry season when weather cannot affect it. Another thing is monitoring and evaluation. So you absolutely do need, this will be very, very important. And that in terms of how do you intend to know the results of your project. One thing that we are doing here is that we are giving out questionnaires. We want you to fill in so that we can see what impact is this having and how can we get better, which we really would like to encourage you to go on filling the forms. Another thing is, does it comply with the local laws and regulations? I think Saramboya also touched a little bit of this about when she tried to bring in some things, and then they were stopped, and the whole thing had to be investigated. Another thing is you need things. A good example is what Nelly was talking about regarding the creating briquettes and going to sell them in the market. Okay, do you know the permits that you need? Do you know the licenses that you need? Do you need licenses? And you don't have to get the permits beforehand. You can get the permits and the licenses with the money that you get from the grant. You don't have to get them beforehand. Another thing is like the project goals. What are the project goals? One of the things that we talked about, I was asking you a lot, is why do you get out of bed in the morning? Because I wanted to find out what is your drive, what is pushing you. So what do you want to accomplish at the end of the goal? And Saramboya did talk a little bit about this. She said that you need to have like your pitch deck presentation always ready. And I always advise people, do not cram your pitch deck presentation. because a lot of these people like venture capitalists or people like Ngomeli, they come across so many people pitching to them. If you memorize it like a computer, they're going to forget about you. So your pitch deck has to include your passion. What are you passionate about? You're passionate about bringing dignity back into cooking. What are you passionate about? You're passionate about electrifying people who are not in the grid, because you yourself, you know what it feels like to be off grid. What are you passionate about? You're passionate about empowering women because of the environment where you live and the kind of childhood that you had, and you know what it's like to have women who are disempowered. What are you passionate about? You need to find that. And I'll give you an example. Is one time we were meeting with Ngomeli and we were having lunch, and someone literally tracked him down and interrupted the meeting that we were having just to talk to him. That is how many people talked to someone like that. So if you want to stand out, you have to have your passion. And one thing I was asking you, why do you get out of bed? That is something that only you can answer. So your pitch deck means it has to have your passion. It has to have the reason why it's important for your company to empower women. It has to have the reason why it's important for you to electrify areas that are off grid. It has to have the reason why, for example, you want to employ the youth. It has to have your passion, or it's just going to sound like one of the many other presentations that these people get, and they will forget about you. We've talked about project readiness. Does it have a detailed budget? Now, this comes to the question that I know some of you are going to ask. You're going to ask, why can't I apply for this, even though the deadline is, when is the deadline? Okay, the first deadline, I've lost the deadline. So you're going to be asking, I think it's May 18th. Can you have a project with a detailed budget till May 18th? Can you? Another one that is this ones, they also have the deadlines May 27. And I know you're probably wondering, why didn't you guys tell us about this? Well, the truth is, personally, I have recently found out about this. And I want to touch on what Saramboya said. She said about networking. Most of my information on grants and having grants, they come through networks. And my networks brought this to me very recently. One, Hilda brought to my attention also recently. So it's not like I was hiding these things from you. That's not my intention. It's just that I think one I got yesterday, and I didn't even know. I don't check my mail as often as I should, so I miss a lot, unfortunately. So again, you do need to have a detailed budget. But the good thing about this is that they come out every year. So you guys have like 1 year to sit down, think about what you want to do, and create it. And I also talked about technical expertise. You do need to have technical expertise, but you don't need to, before applying for the budget, have technical expertise in your company. You can, within the budget, hire someone who is a technical expert and pay them with the money that you get from the budget. You don't have to know everything, but you do have to be a project ready. So another thing, you do need to align with the standard development goals. That is actually one huge thing. Things like climate action, does it protect the climate? Gender equality, does it support gender equality? Clean water and sanitation, zero hunger. These are just some of the examples of it, but the one thing that I have found in every single grant that I have personally applied for is it has to align with the SDGs. I remember there's one grant that I applied for, and they asked if my project aligns to Kenya-specific SDGs. I had zero idea that Kenya has its own specific SDGs. And I actually had to go to the UN website and look for them, because there was a time when Kenya sat down and created its own development goals and submitted them to the United Nations. That was back in 2019, and I had to read through them just to see if they align with the goals. Then another question that was asked: how does the project align with the oceanic goals? What? So that's what I'm saying. The grant application process is very, very extensive, and there are entire companies that just specialize in the grant application process, and there are companies that hire someone and keep them permanently in-house just so that they can apply for grants. It's very extensive. It's very, very extensive, and I wish we had more resources within the timeline of this mentorship, so that we can create a project for each and every one of you. If you want to sit and talk about how you could potentially come up with a project, I'm very open. For me personally, this mentorship doesn't end with the official close for it. Only that if we are to have online meetings, then they will not be financially supported by GIZ. So I cannot come up with the bundles, but maybe we can talk through email. But I know you guys, you rarely talk. So I don't know if I'll get any response from any of you. Okay, so another thing what I want to talk about is your grant. It needs to demonstrate financial capacity. The first thing I talked about is budget. Yeah. So how will the funds be utilized? How are you going to track your revenue? There are some companies that say that having an Excel sheet is not enough. For some, it is. Provide evidence for tax filing and financial audits. The tax filing is why I was very encouraging a lot of you to register your businesses, because you do need to show that you are tax compliant. Some grant organization will ask you for previous records or data just because they want to understand your organization. And there are some grant organizations that will say that we want you to hire a financial manager specifically to be able to manage the budget. Other grants will say we want you to have certain software to be able to manage the budget. So an example is from the EETP grants. So like I said, you do need to go to the website, because they will give you full details of what you need in order to qualify for the grants. And they also give you the full process, the full step-by-step stage process. They give you documents to see funding information. What do you need to know about regarding the funding information? They give you application guidelines. Another thing, they give you a funding criteria. So one of the criteria, it has to go on for a minimum of 1 year. It gives you when your project should start. It tells you how much you should apply. That means that if you apply for if you apply for 59,000 euros, then you're not going to be picked. But one of and then it gives you the funding areas. See, this project proposal must focus on one or more funding areas. So mitigation of greenhouse gases, adaptation of climate impact, conservation of natural carbon sinks, and with a focus on reducing emissions, and also conservation of biological diversity. This one's the criteria that they're giving is that the funding areas, the areas include health, water, agriculture, livelihoods, energy. This one is specific. So they're giving different they're different grants. So if you go to, let's click on one. So if you click on this one, quick. Okay, so they're telling you who is eligible, yeah? Girl-led movements. organization and collectives led by African women and gender diverse persons. And then the grants will support the following interventions: feminist political consciousness raising, alliance building. So if your project does not fill in any of these criteria, it will, I mean, obviously, it will not be applied. Let's go to something like economic justice grant. Economic justice grant, it's looking, oh, that's the wrong. So economic justice grant, so yeah, the grant resource organization to dismantle the barriers of economic justice and equality for women and African girls. And so they come here and are like, okay, who is eligible? Okay, so registered organizations and unregistered organizations. So this one for me was the biggest shock, because for the first time in the time that I've been applying, I have seen that unregistered groups and organizations can actually apply. So I have never seen this. This is a huge shock, but it is very, 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 very rare. So I will still say, please register your companies, just so that you can apply for the grants. Just so you can be eligible for majority of the grants. But I think I've gone off a little bit off topic, because what I wanted to show was regarding the budget. So there are some organizations like this IKI grants. It gives you a step-by-step guideline on how you should budget. If you do not follow this process, you are automatically disqualified. So that's why it's like I said, the grant application process is a very extensive process. So I wanted to show you, because some of you are probably afraid to apply for grants because you're thinking that you don't have the capacity. So I wanted to show you that within this grant, they allow you to hire a project coordinator, a field officer, a financial manager. They allow you to apply to hire experts and pay them from the grant. So your company does not have to already have an expert. You can pay them with the money from the grant, but they do give some caveats for this. Another example is this is the PREO grant. The PREO grant application form, as you can see. Oh my God, it's very extensive. It has organization name, registered address, the core business, year of registration. For this particular PREO grant, when I read it, they said that your organization must be more than 3 years old. So again, I want to encourage everyone to register your companies if you haven't. And here they are also giving you more details of regarding how the ownership of the organization. It has to have more than 50% have to be female, and more than 50% has to be someone from sub-Saharan Africa. And okay, we can't go each and every one of this because of time, but it is very, very extensive. But you see, they're also telling you there's a budget breakdown. They're literally telling you, give us a complete budget breakdown. How are you going to spend this money that we give you? And in the end, you're going to write a report. And if something happens and you deviate from the budget, you can write it in the report and explain it. You're not going to be penalized if things don't go 100% perfect. You are going to be penalized if you are careless, if you make where the organization say that this person has made such a huge mistake that it has to be deliberate. And here they're giving you even an even bigger subdivision of each and every activity that you're going to do, and also how the deliverable is supposed to look like. I also do have some other things. Okay, so I'll get to this later on. I was within my grant application. So in terms of demonstrating financial capacity is that you need to you need to demonstrate that you have financial experts, and you can do this by you don't have to have in-house financial experts. You can hire financial experts and then demonstrate capacity by showing that you're going to hire them and you're going to pay them. You're not going to be penalized for not being perfect, but you will be penalized for being careless and not caring. So the application process is, we've talked about it. You need to read the grant guidelines. You need to read the eligibility requirements, and also the application deadlines are very, very important. Obviously, if you submit after application deadline, it will not be taken in. So you are going to fill in the application form. You're going to submit the project budget. Some companies, they give you, like this company, they literally, the prayer organization, it gives you a budget. Oh my God, it's so huge. We can't go through each and every one of it. See, it's very extensive. So we can't go through each and every one of this. But they will give you a template on how to do it, and you also need to give your organization information. As you remember, I spent a lot of time trying to get to ask you what gets you out of bed. What I'm trying to find out where your passion is, because your passion is your vision. This is what you want to see done. You want to see women empowered. You want to see youth and women employed. You want to bring dignity back to cooking. You want to electrify people who are off grid. So that's your vision. Your mission is, how do you do this? Okay, you do this by teaching clean cooking, on selling clean cooking products. You do this by briquettes making. You do this by boiling things for water. And the history of your organization is important, because they want to know, what have you done in the past? They want, so hence our continual encouragement to please update your social media so that what you're doing is very clear. They also want to know, how are you going to evaluate? What's your evaluation plan? Our evaluation plan is to ask you to fill out forms. These are very, very important for us. And I cannot stress this enough, because if we don't really see what has been done, this is going to signal to the organization that this is not a problem that Kenya faces, because it seems like no one benefited from it, or the women are completely strong and self-sustained. They don't need it. So they're going to divert resources and take them elsewhere. So it's very important for us that you give us feedback. If you find that we're not doing it correctly, give us feedback so that we can get better. And if we have had any impact in your business or in your life, please give us feedback. We need to signal to the organization that this is a need in Kenya and it needs to be met. Hence, you need your project has to have an evaluation plan. You do need to have supporting documents. Like I said, for example, when you hire someone through here, if you hire, for example, you hire a solar technician, you do need to have the resume of that solar technician. Sarah Mboya touched on this by saying that sometimes she brings someone to help in the interview process. So in terms of the technical capacity, what technical capacity do you have? Certificate of incorporation, you get this when you register your company. You need to go to the KRA website and get your tax compliance form. You do need to have audited reports, and these reports need to be audited by someone who is external from your company. So you actually need to hire someone from outside to look at your documents. And also, I've talked about partnerships. Partnerships are very, very important, because they're signaling to the organization that you're trustworthy. I'll give you an example. You're walking in town when you meet someone and they tell you, please give me 1,000 Kenya shillings, so that I can go and help people to be able to start their businesses. You're probably going to look at this person like, who are you? I don't know you. But if if they tell you, look, I know someone you trust. Let's say I know your friend who you trust. So you call the friend and they're like, yeah, this is a good person. They've helped a lot of people in the past. That's what partnerships do. They signal to the organization that this is someone who can actually do what it takes. Partnerships also, they're kind of important. For example, if you want to do trainings and your company itself does not have the technical expertise to do training, you can partner with an organization that has done trainings before, and that will signal to the grant giving organization that the technical expertise is there, the trust is there, and this person will actually deliver on what they are given. So we're going to go to crafting a compelling project. Okay, first of all, it needs to be a need. If there's no need, then there's no need for funding. So is there a problem within this community that needs to be solved? So you do need to identify the need, and you need to be able to be able to actually capture the need in a very clear and very concise manner. Another thing, you do need to show the goal of the project. Okay, so you have a need, is you have a lot of unemployment. So the goal of the project is to create employment. And then how are you going to do this? How are you going to create employment within this particular project? And then other things is, why you specifically? And this is where your vision comes in. What is your vision? Your vision is to create a world where people are employed. Your vision is to create a world where women are empowered. Your vision is to bring dignity back to cooking. Your vision is to electrify areas. Your vision is to this, and your mission is to achieve this through this particular project. So I don't want to go too deep into this. We're going to share this. We're going to share this with everyone. So in terms of the impact should be measurable. It should be something that you can kind of see. So let's say you want to apply for a grant to be able to build a solar system so that you don't rely on KPLC, and you can do your clean cooking business outside the realm of KPLC. So how are you going to measure that? Are you going to measure that by the fact that, are you cooking more? Are you able to serve more people? Or is KPLC just not a problem that needs to be talked about? Maybe you have there's a need out there. You need to train more women because the men typically go away, but women stay within the community. How are you going to measure that? Okay, how are you going to signal to the organization that your project has been successful? So let me try to do it. So budgeting, like I said, budgeting is such a huge thing. It's everything, because if you over budget, you will not be able to meet the needs of your grant. If you under budget, there are some organizations that will tell you to return the excess money. So budgeting is really, really huge. And you can see the organization are going to literally give you a step-by-step guide, because they want to see, where is this money going? Every single cent. They want to see this. These are by the way, these are different organizations. These are budget lines for different organizations. It's not the same organization here, because every single organization will have their own budgeting guidelines. So one would be different from the other. So yeah, I think this basically, yeah, like I said, we're going to share this. And also you do need to make sure that your budget fits in within this criteria. And there's also this ethical financial statement. So the organization needs to know that if they give you the money, you're not going to buy a Prado or build a house. You're actually going to use it for what it is needed. So one of the things that are required by the organization is that you are going to have full transparency. That means that you're going to make your bank accounts completely open so that they can see where the money went. That's what, but they're not spying on you. It's basically to see how you have utilized this grant. Monitoring and evaluation is going to be very important for your report, right? Oh yeah, report writing. That's the word that I was looking for. So it's going to be important for you because in the end you will need to write a report. So if you have applied for a grant to do clean cooking trainings in a remote area, how do you know that the women you have trained are actually going to take in what you have trained them and utilized it? So are you going to use a questionnaire? Are you going to take pictures to see that they've changed? Are you going to evaluate if they decide to start up businesses? Is that something that is going to be an evaluation purpose? For a good example is one of the way that we are monitoring the success of this program is through asking you how have you changed? How has this changed? And we're also requesting that you share your experiences because we actually do want to signal to the organization that there's a need here. This is something that they need to see as important. This is something that people are looking at. And also risk management is also important because risk management signals to the organization that you've actually sat down and really thought about the project and you've thought about all the ways that it can go wrong and you've actually thought about how it can be mitigated. And there are actually organizations that literally hire experts to do the risk management. But I think for you guys and your businesses, I think you're able to look at the own risks and be able to mitigate it. Some examples of risks is I came across an organization that was doing women empowerment activities in Kibera slums. And eventually they discovered that less and less women were coming. And when they asked them why are less women coming, they said, well, we're quarreling with our husbands, to the point where for some it resulted in domestic violence. And so they were surprised at this because they didn't expect it. They were basically talking about feminine hygiene, how to keep yourself clean. And the husbands were asking them, what are you learning in those areas? You're being taught to disrespect us. And for some women, it did end in hospitalization. So that is a risk that you do need to think about. And so what they did is that they approached the elders, they talked to the elders, they informed the elders about the training that they were doing, and then the elders were able to go and now get the men to see, look, these women are being taught feminine hygiene practices. And once a week, the men were allowed to come to the lessons to see what the women were being taught. Another example is there's a project in Voi where this organization, they wanted to empower women through briquette making. So they bought a briquette making machine worth 500,000 Kenya shillings. When they went there, they were looking for women to train. The women didn't turn up. When they asked the women why they were not turning up, the women said, this is dirty work. We can't do dirty work. It's dirty work. It requires you to get your hands dirty. So right now in Voi, there's a briquette making machine worth 500,000 Kenya shillings just sitting there collecting dust because these people did not do research beforehand to find out if this is something that the women will be receptive to. So another thing is the typical questions that you're probably going to be asked either when you're filling out the form or either when you go through the first stage. I'll take you, if you can come here, you see I don't know why this is happening. Okay, if you come here, you can see this application time is happening in stages. So round 1, you submit. Round 2, the top 5 applicants are invited for follow-up questions. In this case, it's happening in written form. And then the final round, 1% of applications, they're now awarded this 20,000 US dollars. So the typical things, of course, they're going to be more. These are just the typical things that they look for. So does your organization have the expertise and infrastructure to deliver? I've touched on this. You don't have to hire the expert, but you do need to put them in your project budget line so that they can see that you've thought about the technical expert. Then has your organization successfully implemented similar projects in the past? This is where I always encourage you to document everything that you're doing, document your work, document your previous successes so that you're able to prove to the organization that you actually have done this in the past and it has been successful. How will you ensure sustainability of the project? So how will you ensure that this project goes beyond the money that you were given and you implement it? So typically, if, for example, one thing Saramboya talked about is the start capital. Where do you get start capital? So if you have a project like you want to empower women in the briquette making area and you don't have the start capital, you can apply for this. You can apply within the project budget line. You have things like material, you have things like paying the women, and you have a project manager, you have the finance manager, and then you also have the market. So you can always say, yes, beyond this project, this is going to be sustainable because there's an actual market for briquettes. So we just need to have the initial capital, start, create the briquettes, sell, and then through the profits that we'll make, it will continue being sustainable. Another thing is ask, what plans do you have for succession within the project? So I think you will see, stop doing this, stop. Okay, I think you will see for here, where is this? For here, for example, they're saying a project can run up to 3 years. So what happens if you're the sole person within the organization and you're getting the funds and the project is running for 3 years? Something happens to you in year 2. What will happen? So how is there continuity beyond you specifically? Yeah. So I now want to show, I've seen you guys have asked a lot of questions. I just want to touch on a couple of things. Okay, I clicked accidentally.
We only have 4 minutes on.
Okay, I just wanted to show the applications, some of the applications that they have, and there are some organizations that give they sort of like give a criteria. For example, this one, they're telling you project readiness and how much percentage your project is worth. So they're basically giving you information on how it's going to be done. The same goes for, okay, we only have 4 minutes. So let me look at the questions that you guys, okay. Yeah, okay.
I have responded to both of them.
Okay, the questions have been responded to. So this is also, some organizations, they will give you a full application step-by-step process on how you go about it. Project title, project goal, like they're telling you step by, this is how you feel you apply for this particular activity, and they give you a step-by-step. And they also go as far as to give you to tell you how your project will be graded. There's something else. For example, they say things like project readiness is 20%. Are there women within your organization? That 20%. Is it an innovative product? That's 15%. Like that. So just in the interest of time, I would like to now put this section to ask for questions. Are there any questions regarding this particular part of the session? besides the ones that were asked?
Hakuna mikono.
As we talked about this, you guys said you're going to talk more in the meetings.
Maybe they're okay. Maybe we.
Okay. Okay, if you guys are okay, I
Okay.
want to hand this over to Hilda. Hilda, take us.
Yeah. I think but we just have a minute, and I'd like to keep time in the evenings because we have babies to check in and all those things as mothers. So this is the official end of the mentorship program. The intention was for women who have been in business for a long time to support those who are just starting off or thinking of starting in their own way, whether phone calls, physical visits, whichever way that will have worked for you, depending on who you are as whether you're a mentor or a mentee, and how you're able to get to each other. I hope it has been positive. I feel that for the next one, we should have more physical meetings and virtual ones. So we might not be with you, but we pick lessons learned even as WISE. So we'll try to improve it for the next cohort that we get. And then we had physical sessions. Some of us showed up, we got our certificates, and we promised to send our business plans so that Anne and I can review and send those back with your comments, but we've not received so many. And the intention was to close this at least in the next 1 week. So
I can't hear you.
I'm so sorry, I'm back, dropped. There's a blackout for now, but I'm back. I'm joined on Wi-Fi. So you can take time and share your business plans. If you did not get a certificate and you'd like to get one, reach out to us either on WhatsApp. My number is there, the one who's sending the meeting link. You can DM, you can send your business documents on our emails. They're also on the group. Or you could just DM me and I can guide you and we see how you can get your certificate as well, because you've still been part of the mentorship, even if you were engaged for that one day that we met physically. Thank you, everyone. I don't know if we have any closing remarks from anyone. Ama tufunge tu hivyo. Anyone would like to even close with a word of prayer? Atuombe tulale vizuri.
Mine is to say thank you for the presentation that Anne has given. I do a lot of grant applications. Some are successful, some are not. Let me just say majority are the ones that are not successful, and you get what's it called? You get am I
Feedback.
clear?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So, oh no, it's my other phone ringing. I'm so sorry. I was getting confused. Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes, what was I saying? Yeah, I get negative results, and sometimes najiuliza mbona ilifanyika. So as she was talking, I was able to now point to areas that were the culprits, and at least now I can improve on them. Some things I would take for granted, like just some, like, let me see my notes. I had moved away from the ringing phone. For example, when you look at just trying to show how ready your organization is for some of the grants, you are not able to demonstrate that, or sometimes I think it was being able to prove that I can actually sustain this way beyond after the grant is the whole project is over, then the grant thing has been wrapped up. Have you become, what do I say? Have you grown enough to be able to keep going with that momentum without requiring more injection of capital from the outside or something like that? So yes, this was quite an eye opener for some of these things. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you. That's very good feedback. I like it.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Mtu atuombee sasa. 9:04. We'll have two mentors, one mentor and mentee from Kisumu and Ramogi on Thursday. So if you are a Luo or you can hear, I don't know if Jires can hear their language, you can listen in. We had one for Citizen last week. We're just doing awareness creation for women on what women can do in solar and clean cooking. And I think last week's session was really good. So the ones in Kisumu, kina Sarah, you can share with your friends, your networks, with the mentees, anyone else who you know is a woman in and can get to listen to Ramogi on Thursday at 7 p.m. You can share with them. I've sent the photo on WhatsApp. Yeah. Maombi, who can pray for us? Sarah, you want to pray? No. Okay. Sawa, let me pray. Our Father in heaven, thank you for today. Thank you for the things we have been able to achieve since morning till now. As we rest, we pray for you to bless us, bless the work of our hands, bless our families, oh God, and also bless our businesses and our careers. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen. Goodbye, everyone. Thank you so much.
Bye. Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone.
Bye.